All right. You guys want to give Ingrid a call?
Yeah.
All right, let's see what she's been up to.
Hello, London.
Dr. Visser giving London an internship in New Zealand was so important because it was a cosign on her ability level. There's so many people that won't let her intern or won't let her volunteer because of her age, or they think, oh, she's just a kid. What can she do?
At my first super pod, I met her and I just talked to her and told her that I want to be like her and that I think what she did is cool. And we ended up being able to watch orca together. Pretty much bonded with that person after you've seen whales with them. There's another panel that they have every year called the Scholarly Advocacy Panel. Dr. Visser was one of the people on that panel. I was asking, how can I get involved if I'm not old enough to do anything here? And Dr. Visser interrupted me and she said, London, you're not too young to come down to New Zealand with me. Ingrid, she said that when an orca goes under the boat, it's not in the shape of an orca, but it's this giant blob.
Is it sitting in the V properly?
Yes!
All the way? No, underneath here. All the way.
No one else had ever given me a chance to be a researcher, or to be a scientist, because I was like this tall and it had like no front teeth, and I was just a little kid. That was just like a really profound moment for me.
You probably heard one of our residents, J52 Sonic, died since we left.
Yeah.
And like the others, they believe it's caused to be malnutrition. In that regard, London has been doing a lot of advocacy work.
Death of another southern resident killer whale. The memorial held for the J52 pod, also known as Sonic, outside of Senator Patty Murray's office.
Please do not be distracted by my age, as I am very educated on the issue which I am about to address. Over the last 5 years, I have devoted my life to the study and protection of the southern resident killer whales. Through my work as a responder for the Whatcom Marine Mammals Training Network and ongoing education and research, including dozens of lectures and symposiums put on by the Orca Network, Orca Superpod, and the Center for Whale Research, it has become crystal clear that there is a critical need to save what is left of our endangered southern resident killer whales from starvation.
We have an urgency to deal with food resources for these animals. Yeah. They're dying because of starvation. The little boxes mean that whale didn't survive.
Roughly said, there's a lot of little boxes in J-Pod.
We'll die of a great loneliness of spirit if we don't keep these other creatures around us.
We are in a state of emergency. The orca are starving, and action must be taken now. I have been to the Snake River dams and seen personally what these giant megaliths of death are doing to our rivers. I have observed the slack water and debris. I have witnessed fish pressed up against the inadequate fish ladders. Together with my family, I witnessed government agencies sucking up fish and dumping them to hot metal dump trucks in the early morning, as not to be seen by the public. Sadly, J52 is not the only one, but just one in a long line of residents who have died and will soon die if immediate action and emergency measures aren't taken. This is a direct result of corporate greed and failure of our Washington state government to uphold the Endangered Species Act of 1973, which guarantees protection for these critically endangered whales.
We're trying to do, whatever we can do to try to be a voice for these animals. And it's hard, I'm not a scientist, and London's not a scientist yet. So people, wonder, who are you guys? What do you know about these whales?
We have legal and moral obligations to uphold these values and our Constitution. When you listed the orcas as endangered under the Endangered Species Act, you made a promise to protect them, a promise to preserve their habitat, and a promise that future generations such as my own will be able to look out over the water and have a chance to see these national treasures in their own habitat. It is now time for you as leaders to make good on the promise to protect them and save these poor creatures who are struggling every day for their very survival. Do what is right and remove the 4 lower Snake River dams. The bottom line is that the orca need a seat at the table and a portion of the annual salmon harvest set aside for them. Don't let the extinction of the animals be on your conscience. I respectfully ask for your every effort to protect these animals.
Is there anybody there that you can talk to that you can help and they can help you to get this message out there, London?
These dams need to be removed in terms of hydropower for the simple reason that back in the 1920s, 30s, and 40s, the Corps of Engineers was asked to look at these dams and see if they were economically justifiable. The answer was no. And so this idea that we need this power is inaccurate. The dams only produce about 3% of the power in the Pacific Northwest, and that's easily eclipsed by the 16% surplus of power in the Pacific Northwest. And then there's people who will argue that, we need them for peaking power and stuff like this. They can jump in when something happens, like a power outage someplace else with a generator or turbine. But that's not true. These dams are constrained by the low flows of the Snake River. And so when we need power the most, for instance, in the summertime, it doesn't matter. We got one turbine and that's all you can get out of it, and that's running all the time. And so if there's a power demand increase, those dams cannot provide any more power. What I think citizens need to do is they have to contact their local or national elected officials, the governors, the senators, and press on them the need to pressure or tell the Corps of Engineers to breach the lower Snake River dams in 2018. That doesn't require authorization or legislation from Congress, which would be impossible to get. It just means pick up the phone and call that general in Portland and tell him to get the dams down. That we are going to extinct these animals and ruin our ecosystem if we don't. This is not an assault on all dams. The Snake River dams are well known to be the salmon killer. They're well known now to be economic disasters, and they cost too much. And we've got a hydro system out there that is in desperate need of money. And we've got big dams that produce power at a reasonable rate, but they're underfunded in terms of maintenance and repair. And we need to take the money off the Snake River dams and put it on these other hydropower assets that do make money for the ratepayers and do give us affordable power. And if we don't take care of the Snake River dams, Bonneville Power is going to go broke trying to keep all those dams going.
Kids can comprehend a lot more than we think they can. And I don't really think London's a special case.
We're trying to bring our knowledge from my generation down to these young folks, and we really need more Londons to get engaged on this issue, but we need to help them.
We're going to be lucky to be able to look back at her and say, I knew her when. I knew her when she was 10.
Every kid has that within them. It's just up to us to nourish that.
A lot of people might say to you something like, oh, well, how can you do that? You're only 10. But in my mind, it's because you're 10.